Okay guys, welcome back to episode 3 of our slab stacker game. Today we're going to be fixing the bug that we had yesterday where when we pressed on the screen and the slab stopped and resized itself, it kind of shifted up a bit into like the wrong position, but it was cutting itself correctly. We're going to fix that. The code was perfectly fine, we just need to change like the position of the camera and the position of a few things. We'll go and update those and then everything will work fine. And then we're going to move on to what we're actually going to get onto today, and that is to instantiate a new block or a new cube into the game to act as the hangover piece that will eventually fall out of the scene. So that's what we're going to do today. It's not too hard, I hope. We'll see how long it takes, but let's go ahead and jump into the game quickly and update those values that we needed to, just so we can get the previous episode finished. So you might think this looks different. It is different. All I've done here is I've changed the color of our material to white just so that it's easier to look at and to see, but you can leave it however you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to change a few values. So to do that, let's go and change some values on our first slab. So I've taken a screenshot of the values that we need, so let's go and add them into it. So I've taken a picture of it, but yet I don't know how to figure out which one is which. Okay, so I think this one is for our moving slab. So for our moving slab, let's go and update it to equal to our position on the X. We'll set that to equal to 0. Our Y value will set to 0.55. The Z value will set at -3 for now. And then the rotation will be 0, 0, and 0. And the scale, we're going to change the scale back to 1 and then 0.1. And then the Z axis is also going to be 1. So we're going to shrink it right down and then we'll zoom in with the camera. So let's see, for our our first slab, let's go and reset this. So the only thing we're going to change is the Y is going to be set to 0.45, and then the Y rotation is going to be set to 0, and then the scale will obviously be 1, 0.1, and 1. I think I might have swapped these. Anyway. Let's play the game quick and see what happens. So if we play the game, we might be able to see the... Okay, so I think we'll leave that like that for now. Then we want to move our camera. And I actually forgot to take the values of our camera. Did I take it? No. Cool, so let me go and pull those up quick. I do have them somewhere. Give me 2 seconds to go look them up quick. Where is this? History. So we want the camera to be at let's see. Okay, so camera will be at X at 2. These are just rough values. You can change them however you want. We might have to adjust them a little bit. Y value will be 4. Z value will be, I think, 3. Rotation we will set to 35 on the X. The Y will be -138. The Z value will be 0. So let's see, that didn't work. Let's see, 2, let's try and put these 2.7, 4.1, 4.1. Sorry, the Z value needs to be 3, not 30. So we can go and set that to 2. Actually, we'll make that 3, maybe, or let's try 2.5, so it kind of gets it in the middle. Like over there, maybe. We'll set that equal to 2.7. Y value, we can probably bring it down a little bit, like there. Scale, well, we'll set that to 1 because we don't need that. want to try and zoom in on this. So can we do that? X-axis now. Okay, let's put that back. Okay, so we'll leave that like that. Those are the values that you need. Let's go and play the game quickly and see what this looks like. So we need to try and stop the cube. Okay, so there you go. Now you can see that when we stop the cube on top of the previous cube, we actually do get it cut nicely, and you can see the other bit, the hangover, has actually disappeared. Well, it hasn't disappeared, it's just resized our original one. And obviously we have a little bit of a bug there because whenever you click, it does random things that we need to get rid of. So, but we'll do that later. So let's go and continue with today's episode. So today we want to try and get the overhang to look like it's staying there, but in this game we are just going to create a new slab. So we're going to create this piece over here as a new block, and then we are going to drop it. So let's go and jump into our script so we can do that. So the first thing we want to do, if we look on here, is we want to make a new edge for the new cube, and then we need to calculate the new position, and then we need to spawn the new cube. So let's go and do that. So I think we'll start off with doing this in our set slab size here. So to do that, we first need to create a new edge. So let's go and say float edge, like this. So float edge is equal to transform, I can't see, dot position dot z plus the new size that we created, new z size, divided by 2, like that. 2f rather, because it's float, so we'll save that like that. And then we need to create a position to spawn this at. So we'll say float new what do we call it? Let's keep it consistent with hangover z position. I think that's fine, position, like that. And then we'll set this equal to the cube, or let's try the edge rather, edge plus, and this is where we are going to use our hangover block size that we created in our previous episode. So we'll copy that, add that to our edge, and then we are going to divide that by 2f as well, like that. So that will give us our new position. So that looks good. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go and spawn in a new cube. So let's go and say var cube is equal to the game object. So this is where we're going to create a new cube. So game object dot create primitive, and then we are going to create a type of cube. So that's just going to create a new cube in our game. So that's generating a new cube. So now we need to go and set the scale of the cube as well as the size of it. So here we can say cube dot transform dot local scale rather. Local scale is equal to new vector 3, and then we'll say transform dot local. Why don't I keep doing that? Local needs to be local scale, so local scale dot x, and then transform dot local scale dot y, and then we will say with our new, what's it called? Our new, what did we just create? Falling. We need to put in the new size, and that is the hangover size. So let's say hangover block size, there we go. And then after that we need to set the position. So let's go and say cube dot transform. It's pretty much going to be the same thing, so I'm just going to copy this, but instead of saying local scale we'll say position, and then obviously here instead of saying local scale will be position, same thing over there. And then obviously instead of the size we want the position, which is going to be new hangover Z position. Cool. So we'll save that, and then we will jump back into our game and see what this actually does. So we might have a little bit of a problem here, just because let's go ahead and see what happens. So if we play the game and we try, okay, so first of all we need to change, because we changed the scale of our slabs or of everything, we need to change the size, or the speed, sorry, because it's way too fast. So we'll set our speed to equal to 1 now, because the scale is 1 as well. So set that to 1, and then we'll play the game, and now we should be able to actually stop the cube as it slides across the slab. So there we go, we'll stop that there. So now you can see it looks like it hasn't really worked, but it actually has, because if you, okay, so let's do that again, because I've clicked on it twice and it's spawned 2 cubes. So I'm gonna play the game, and then we'll switch over to the scene view here. So let's double click on our moving slab so we can zoom in. Cool. So if you see here, let's try and zoom in. So here you can see there's one of our cubes that is, well, I think that's the original cube that slid over slightly, and this bit was the overhanging cube that got deleted, kind of, or resized. But that is the new cube that has been instantiated into the game, but it's actually instantiated in the wrong edge. So instead of being spawned into this edge, it's actually been spawned into the opposite edge. So if we go back into the game and play it again, and we do the same thing but on the opposite side, and we get the overlap on this side of the original slab, you'll see that this actually works fine. So there you go, it's been cut into 2 pieces. So there's our first one, we can't select, you can't see that we've selected. So there's the new cube that's been selected, oh, not selected, but that's the new one that's been instantiated into the scene. And obviously this is the original one that has just been resized into the bit that's on top of the previous cube. So what we want to do is we want to tell it which edge to spawn itself onto. So let's go back into our code here and say, give it a little bit of a check in our, where we're going to do this, right before we set the slab size, I think. So over here we want to say, add in a little bit of and kind of like an if statement, I think, or should we? We'll say, okay, yeah. So let's say float direction, and then in here we'll say if let's say float direction is equal, we'll set that equal to 1 for now, and then what's wrong here? Okay, so it's never used, so maybe we can just do this. Okay, so here we want to say if, or rather if, let's check on us, if hangover is positive, so if hangover is positive, so greater than 0, then direction needs to equal 1, I think, else direction is equal to -1. So add an F there because it is show potential. Okay, I think let's try to do this. Float direction. Actually, you know what? We'll do this the better way of, and that is to do it like this. We'll say float direction, and then we'll say is equal to hangover, and then we'll say greater than 0 we want that to be 1, and if it's not, then we want it to be -1. So that is a better way of saying pretty much what I just wrote, better and faster. And then what we want to do is we want to pass this into our set slab size method here by simply saying direction, I think it was, like that, yeah. So now we obviously need to add that into here, so float direction. And then the only thing we need to do is, instead of saying new position is equal to this, we need to go and times, sorry, not that, we need to go and times our edge by our direction. So we'll add our times direction over there, and then we need to do the same thing for our new hangover Z position, so times direction. Cool. So we'll save that, and then we'll jump back into our game. And hopefully now we get, okay, so we can load this. Did I press play? No, I didn't. So now that we've loaded our game, when we actually play it, we hopefully will see that the cube gets put on the correct size. So we'll stop it over there, and you can see there it is. It's on the correct size. Let's go and try that again on the opposite side. So let's make it hangover on this side and see if that works. So let's see. Get this over the sides, we'll stop it over there. Okay, so that's working fine. That's great. So now what we have to do is we need some sort of way of getting rid of that overhanging bit, and the simplest way to do that would be to simply just add a rigid body onto it, which means it will fall. So let's go and do that. So as soon as we create that cube, we need to go and say cube dot add component rigid body. So obviously it's not going to be a 2D rigid body because this is a 3D game, so I think that should be fine. So let's go and try that out and see what happens. So if we play the game now, let's see. Now, depending on whichever side this cube stops on, the overhanging bit should just fall off. So that's pretty much exactly what happens. So let's try that again, and now we'll do it on the opposite side. So this side is the side closest to us, and see if that works. So we'll press over there, so that bit falls. So we need to fix this bug as well, because obviously that's not what we want, but anyway, we'll do that later. So that's pretty much it for this episode. That's what we wanted to accomplish by getting, we can go ahead and tick all of these off because we've done all of that. So that's all we wanted to do in this episode. We just wanted to create that new block that gets spawned into the game and then eventually gets destroyed over time. Actually, let's go and do that now quick. So if we play this again, you'll see that as soon as that cube falls off, it actually just falls. It just falls out of out of sight, but it's still in the scene. So you can see if we go into our scene here, you can see it's still going on and on forever. You can see the numbers climbing. So let's go and destroy that cube over time. So here we can simply say destroy cube, and then give it a slight delay of, let's say about 5 or 3 seconds maybe. You could probably make that shorter depending on the gap between the edge of the screen and the first cube, just depending on how long it takes to disappear off the scene. So now, as soon as we create that overhang and the cube falls down, you'll see that this cube will now get destroyed. So there's no longer a falling cube in our scene. So there will only be these 2 cubes now, which will make it a lot cleaner. And eventually, well, it doesn't really matter for this game because it's not a very big game. But obviously, you don't want random objects in your scene if they're not on in sight and you don't really use them. So we'll get rid of that. But yeah, that's it for this episode. So I think in the next episode we are going to start working on making it a little bit more colorful. So I want to try and get like a gradient going on. So we will start off at a random color with the bottom block, and then over time, like with each new slab that gets generated, I want to slightly change the color so it kind of like fades out into different colors. That makes it look like a little bit of a rainbow. But now that I think of that, that's not what we're going to be doing next. Well, it's not what we're going to be doing in the next episode. The next episode is going to be focused on spawning or starting. So as soon as we, how do I explain it? So as soon as we stop the cube, we want a new one to spawn into the scene and come from the opposite direction. So let's watch this. So if we stop this over there, we now want the same cube to start on this direction here and come in towards here, and then stop it, or try and stop it on top of this one. So we need to like go up a level every time. So that's what we're going to be doing in the next episode. So if you want to watch that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn your notifications on so you get notified when that episode comes out. But yeah, that should be in the next 2 or 3 days, so hopefully I can get that done quickly, and then we can move on to adding in some gradient, which will make the game look pretty cool. And then after that, I think it's just the UI in terms of adding in some score count if we want to do that. I'm not sure yet. And maybe like a button that will pause it and restart the game, probably just to restart the game. And then we also need to figure out how to stop the player from tapping on the screen or pressing the mouse button when the slab has stopped. Otherwise you can just spawn in new cubes all the time. So those are a few things that we need to do, and I think they are the only things that we need to do, because this game is quite small and quite simple. But yeah, that's it for this episode, so thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.